Most manipulators don't reveal themselves with threats. They reveal themselves with smiles. They're watching you, not because they admire you, but because they're calculating you. Manipulators don't look for strength. They look for softness, open wounds, signs of approval seeking. And the moment they sense hesitation in your voice or guilt in your eyes, they strike. This world isn't filled with fair fights. It's filled with psychological warfare hidden behind smiles, compliments, and fake concern. You were taught to be kind, honest, and open, but manipulators weaponize your kindness, distort your honesty, and dig through your openness. Like vultures through a carcass. If you keep playing the good guy in a world of predators, you'll keep getting eaten alive. Niccolò Machiavelli said, "One who wishes to act entirely up to his profession of virtue soon meets with what destroys him." In other words, if you want to survive, you must understand the game. And if you want to dominate, you must learn to play it better than anyone else. This video isn't a lecture. It's a manual for psychological warfare. A battle plan forged in cold logic, sharp instincts, and ruthless clarity. You're about to learn how to spot manipulators in seconds, how to flip their power plays back on them, and how to walk through chaos with unreadable calm. From this point forward, you don't react. You calculate. You don't justify. You observe. You don't prove anything. Because power never begs. 1. The reverse mirror. Here's what manipulators fear more than anything. Seeing themselves. They don't want attention turned inward. They want it focused on you. Their advantage comes from believing they're the observer, the one studying your reactions, your weaknesses, and your patterns. But the moment you turn that attention back on them, the balance shifts. This is the reverse mirror. Tactic built on one simple principle. Stop reacting. Start reflecting. If they speak in vague hints and hidden meanings, answer with silence. If they push you with questions, calmly return those same questions. If they use kindness as bait, acknowledge it politely, but never invest emotionally. Give them nothing extra. Force them to face the energy they're projecting. Why does this work? Because manipulation depends on control. They want to make a move and watch you react. They want information. They want emotional data. But when you reflect, instead of respond, the flow breaks. Suddenly, they're the ones feeling uncertain. They're no longer controlling the conversation. They're watching their own tactics come back at them. And most manipulators aren't prepared for that. In real life, this looks like maintaining steady eye contact when someone tries to provoke you. It sounds like saying, "That's interesting. Why do you ask?" When someone starts digging for personal information, it means matching their tone with calm detachment instead of emotional engagement. You're not fighting them. You're not exposing them. You're simply holding up a mirror and letting them see what's staring back. And that's exactly what makes them uncomfortable. Because the manipulator's greatest weapon is observation. But their greatest weakness is becoming the one being observed. Remember this? The harder they try to control you, the more you become their reverse mirror. And once they realize they can no longer read you, the game begins to fall apart. 2. The silent void. A manipulator's greatest weapon isn't their words. It's your reaction. They test you with subtle insults, passive-aggressive smiles, and compliments wrapped around hidden disrespect. The moment you flinch, defend yourself, or start over-explaining, they've already won. You've stepped into the emotional cage they built for you, and now you're playing by their rules. But here's where the power shifts. Remove emotion from the equation entirely. Become a void. Calm, silent, unreadable. The moment you stop reacting, the manipulator loses control. Manipulation depends on movement. They make a move, you react, and they gather information. But when the board suddenly goes still, they don't know what move comes next. Your silence becomes something they can't interpret. Your neutrality becomes a fog they can't navigate. And uncertainty is dangerous to people who survive through control. When someone tries to provoke you, give them nothing. No anger, no defensive explanation, not even visible frustration. Just steady eye contact and stillness. If they make a joke at your expense, don't rush to laugh. Don't rush to correct them. Let the silence sit there. Let them experience the discomfort of their own tactic failing. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming disciplined. You still feel everything. You notice every insult, every hidden motive, and every attempt to manipulate you. But you refuse to broadcast those emotions, because emotion is information, and information is power. Manipulators are constantly searching for emotional data. The less you reveal, the less they can use against you in private. Feel whatever you need to feel, but in front of a manipulator, remain composed. Remember this: the person who controls their reactions controls the interaction. The moment you become a silent void, manipulation begins to lose its power. 3. The time advantage. Manipulators love urgency. They push you to answer quickly, decide immediately, and react without thinking. Why? Because speed is the enemy of awareness. The faster you're forced to move, the less likely you are to notice the trap being set beneath you. This is where one of the most underestimated power moves comes into play. Delay. The ability to not respond when they expect you to. The discipline to slow the pace of the interaction and leave them sitting in uncertainty. Most people see silence as passive. In reality, it's strategic. A well-timed delay gives you something manipulators never want you to have. Space. Space to observe their intentions, recognize their patterns, and identify their weaknesses. And given enough time, desperation always reveals itself. Think about how this works in real life. Someone sends you a message loaded with pressure. Can you do this for me? I need an answer right now. Most people rush to respond. They rush to please. They rush to relieve the tension. You don't, you wait. Maybe a few hours, maybe longer. And suddenly the dynamic begins to change. The manipulator starts questioning their position. They may send another message. They may soften their tone, or they may become frustrated and reveal exactly how emotionally invested they were in controlling the outcome. Either way, you've learned something valuable. Machiavelli understood the power of timing. He didn't believe in reacting simply because someone demanded it. He believed in acting when it benefited his strategy, not theirs. You're not here to be available. You're here to be effective. That's why strategic delay is so powerful. It allows you to reclaim your time, your frame, and your authority. And this doesn't only apply to texts and phone calls. Use it in person. When someone confronts you, resist the urge to answer immediately. Pause. Take a breath. Let the silence arrive before your words do. That brief moment of stillness creates discomfort. People begin filling the silence with their own assumptions, their own fears, and their own doubts. Without realizing it, they start revealing more than they intended. Now the pressure isn't on you. It's on them. You don't owe anyone instant access to your thoughts. A delayed response is not weakness. It's evidence that you're thinking before speaking, observing before acting, and deciding on your own terms. This is how power operates. Not through noise, not through urgency, but through patience, timing, and control. Because true authority never rushes, and real power never needs to raise its voice. 4. The validation trap. Manipulators have two favorite tools: praise and guilt. If they can't influence you with compliments, they'll try to control you through obligation. One targets your ego, the other targets your conscience. And the moment you start responding to either one, they've gained influence over you. But here's where the game changes. Instead of chasing validation, you make validation scarce. Instead of responding to their psychological bait, you reverse the flow of attention. This is the validation trap. one of the most effective tactics in psychological warfare. Rather than rewarding manipulative behavior with approval, attention, or emotional engagement, you quietly withdraw those rewards. You remove the very thing manipulators crave most, your reaction. And the moment you do that, the balance of power begins to shift. Think about excessive flattery. Someone tells you, "You're amazing at this. Nobody does it better than you." On the surface, it sounds harmless, but often, it's an attempt to hook you through your ego. Most people immediately accept the bait. They smile, thank the person, and subconsciously feel pressure to return the favor. You don't. The simple nod is enough. Better yet, change the subject entirely. In that moment, you're communicating something powerful. I don't depend on your approval. I already know my value. Now let's talk about guilt. This tactic is more dangerous because it disguises itself as morality. After everything I've done for you, you can't help me just this once? These statements aren't designed to create understanding. They're designed to create obligation. The manipulator wants you to feel responsible for their emotions. But once again, the solution isn't argument. It's emotional neutrality. You simply say, "Not this time," and move on. No lengthy explanations. No defending yourself. No trying to prove you're still a good person. Because the more you defend against guilt, the more guilty you appear. At its core, manipulation is often a search for validation. People want attention. They want approval. They want confirmation that they matter. Manipulators are no different. In fact, many of them depend on it. That's why everything changes when you become the person who controls the flow of validation. You decide when attention is given, how it's given, and whether it's given at all. And that uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. Imagine a meeting where a manipulative coworker takes credit for your contribution. They're expecting one of two reactions. Either you'll become angry and create conflict, or you'll stay silent and accept the loss. Instead, you do something unexpected. You calmly recognize another teammate for their contribution and continue the discussion as if the manipulator doesn't exist. No confrontation, no emotional reaction, no spotlight. You've redirected attention exactly where you want it to go. That's power without aggression. The validation trap transforms you from a participant into the person setting the frame. You're no longer reacting to their script. You're creating your own. You stop chasing attention. You become the source of it. And people naturally value what isn't freely given. Never forget this. Approval is a form of power, and the person who controls it often controls the room. 5. The veil of mystery. Predictability is a weakness. Mystery is an advantage. Manipulators study people the way generals study battlefields. They watch your habits, analyze your patterns, and search for inconsistencies. They ask questions that seem harmless on the surface. What are you thinking? Why didn't you reply? What's your next move? But these questions aren't always driven by curiosity. They're driven by information gathering. Because the moment you give someone complete clarity, you give them a map. And once they have the map, they begin looking for ways to navigate, influence, and control you. That's why one of the strongest forms of psychological defense isn't aggression, it's mystery, controlled vagueness, deliberate silence, the discipline to leave certain things unsaid. When people can't fully understand where you stand, they struggle to develop a strategy against you. They can't predict your next move because they don't have enough information to work with. Remember this. You don't owe anyone unrestricted access to your inner world. Not your ambitions, not your insecurities, not your plans, not your thoughts. Manipulators often create the illusion of closeness, not because they genuinely care, but because closeness creates access, and access creates opportunity. But when you become difficult to read, their influence begins to fade. You're no longer a chessboard. They can study. You're the fog surrounding it. You're no longer an opponent they can calculate. You're a question they can't answer. But veil of mystery begins with language. Stop feeling obligated to provide complete explanations. Stop turning every answer into a detailed report. Speak carefully. Leave space in your words. When someone asks, "What do you want from this?" you can simply say, "I'm still thinking about it." When they ask, "Where do you stand?" you can respond with, "We'll see how things develop." When someone demands to know what's wrong, don't launch into a long explanation. Simply say, "I'm working through it." People are uncomfortable with uncertainty. They rush to fill silence with words. And in doing so, they often expose their intentions, their fears, and their expectations. While they're talking, you're learning. Another part of mystery comes from your presence. Pay attention to your body language. Don't over-smile. Don't constantly seek approval through nodding. Don't reveal every thought through your expressions. Stillness has power. Pauses have power. When people can't immediately tell whether they've impressed you, frustrated you, or influenced you, they begin questioning themselves. And the moment they start questioning themselves, the balance shifts. Now you're the mystery, not the target. Machiavelli understood this principle well. He advised rulers to be both lion and fox, strength and cunning, power and concealment. The lion represents what people can see, a fox represents what they cannot. And often, what remains hidden is far more powerful than what is revealed. Being mysterious doesn't mean being indecisive. It means being difficult to predict. It means creating uncertainty in the minds of others while maintaining certainty in your own. Think about what happens in conversation when you speak less. The other person begins speaking more. People dislike psychological silence. They rush to fill empty space. They explain, they justify, they reveal. And all the while, you're observing gathering information, watching them expose their hand before you've even touched your own cards. That applies to relationships as well. Not everything needs a label. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every plan needs to be announced. When parts of your life remain private, you maintain leverage. You create contrast. One moment you're warm and engaging. The next, you're impossible to read. That uncertainty creates value, because people naturally become curious about what they cannot fully understand. Even in business and leadership, mystery is power. The person who reveals the least often learns the most. The person who speaks last in a negotiation frequently holds the advantage, and the person who doesn't expose every intention forces everyone else to operate with uncertainty. That's not coldness. That's discipline. That's strategy. Mystery creates space. And inside that space, you observe everything. You notice patterns. You gather information. You watch others reveal themselves before revealing yourself. You become a psychological shadow, but difficult to grasp. So the next time someone demands immediate clarity, pause. The next time you feel the urge to explain everything, resist it. Not because you're afraid, because you're in control. Because in a world obsessed with oversharing and constant transparency, there is something incredibly powerful about being the one person nobody can completely figure out. 6. The power of walking away. A manipulator's power begins to collapse the moment they realize you can leave, and actually mean it. Most people stay trapped in the game for far too long. They argue, explain, and try to fix situations that were never meant to be fixed. Manipulators depend on that attachment. They rely on your fear of losing the connection. They keep pushing, testing, and probing to see how much you'll tolerate before you finally break. But something changes when you stop clinging, when you stop proving yourself, when you stop explaining yourself. You become a psychological threat. This is the power of walking away. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't require ultimatums or threats. It's simply the quiet understanding that you're here by choice, not by need. You can stay, but you can also leave. That mindset alone dismantles most manipulators, because their influence rarely comes from genuine strength. It comes from dependence. They want you emotionally invested, financially dependent, and socially attached. They want the idea of losing them to feel unbearable. But the moment you become detached, the balance shifts. Detachment is terrifying to manipulators because it makes you unpredictable. You're no longer reacting to pressure. You're no longer chasing approval. You're no longer desperate to preserve the relationship at all costs. You're simply present, calm, and fully capable of leaving if necessary. That is real leverage. Think about a toxic relationship. Every time you set a boundary, you're met with guilt. You say no, and suddenly, you're accused of not caring. You ask for space, and you're told you're selfish. The goal is simple: make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. But one day, you stop arguing, you stop defending, you stop explaining, you simply say, "All right," and step back. No emotional speeches, no dramatic exit, just distance. For the first time, they can't control the outcome. The silence they once used against you becomes something they have to face themselves. And that's when the panic begins. The same principle applies in professional environments. Imagine a coworker who constantly undermines you, takes credit for your work, or pressures you into carrying responsibilities that aren't yours. Most people complain and hope things improve. The strategist does something different. They document everything. They build value. They create options. And when the time comes, they leave for a better opportunity without warning. No begging, no threats, no emotional confrontation. They simply take their value elsewhere. That's the true power of walking away. It's the ability to remove your presence from a situation that no longer deserves it. But there's an important condition. This only works when it's genuine. You must truly believe that your worth is not dependent on another person's approval. Otherwise, people will sense the bluff. And a bluff has no power. So how do you communicate this mindset without saying a word? First, control your availability. Don't always be accessible. Don't always respond instantly. Don't feel obligated to explain every absence. Let people understand that your time is valuable. Second, master emotional discipline. When someone disrespects you, don't rush to react or defend yourself. Stay calm and composed. Show them that their behavior no longer controls your emotional state. Third, build independence, financially, mentally, and socially. The more options you have, the harder you are to control. Quietly create opportunities. Quietly build alternatives. Quietly strengthen your position. Machiavelli once wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved when one cannot be both. What many people miss is that fear doesn't always come from aggression. Sometimes the most intimidating person in the room is the one who smiles, says nothing, and walks away without looking back. This isn't about being cold. It's about making sure every connection in your life is chosen rather than required. Because the ability to leave reveals the truth. It shows who respects your boundaries and who only valued you because they thought you'd never go anywhere. People naturally respect what they know they can lose. And when you operate with quiet detachment, manipulation begins to lose its power. 7. The hidden hand. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one everyone underestimates. Manipulators expect resistance. They expect arguments, emotional reactions, and attempts to defend yourself. That's how they measure their influence. That's how they know they're getting inside your head. But what happens when you give them none of it? No defense. No explanation. No visible emotion. That's when the game begins to change. This is the art of appearing unaware. You see the manipulation. You recognize the trap. You understand exactly what's happening, but you choose not to reveal that you do. And that alone disrupts their rhythm. They throw a passive-aggressive insult your way. You smile slightly and move on. They ask a question designed to corner you. You answer casually, or dismiss it altogether. To them, it looks like you missed the attack, but you didn't. You're simply refusing to react to it. While they believe they're controlling the interaction, you're doing something far more valuable. You're observing, you're collecting information, you're identifying patterns, you're learning exactly how they operate. Real strength of this tactic is patience. Most people want immediate victory. They want to prove the manipulator wrong the moment it happens. They want justice in real time. The strategist thinks differently. They don't strike when emotions are highest. They wait until the moment actually matters. They allow the manipulator to become comfortable. They allow them to believe the act is working. And that's often when the truth becomes impossible to hide, because the real victory isn't exposing someone in a single conversation. The real victory is realizing they never controlled you to begin with. Let them think you're unaware. Let them think they're winning. While they're focused on controlling the game, you're quietly learning the rules better than they are. And by the time they realize it, the balance of power has already shifted. You're not the same person who started this video. You've moved beyond the need to react, beyond the need to explain, and beyond the need to seek approval. You've entered a mindset that very few people ever develop, the mindset of the unreadable. You no longer feel compelled to explain your silence. You no longer justify your distance. And when someone attempts to provoke you, you don't immediately take the bait because you now understand something most people never learn. Power doesn't chase. Power chooses. You've stopped supplying emotional energy to people who feed on reactions. You've abandoned the constant urge to fix, please, and explain yourself. In its place, you've developed something far more powerful: stillness, discipline, and clarity. You speak with intention. You act with purpose. And when silence serves you better than words, you remain silent. You walk into rooms without searching for acceptance. Instead of adapting yourself to everyone around you, you allow others to adapt to your presence. And when a manipulator reaches for their usual tactics, you don't fight them. You outgrow them. You dissolve their influence with indifference. That's real power. That's psychological dominance. You no longer need constant approval because you've replaced it with self-possession. You're no longer easy to bait, easy to drain, or easy to read. To the people who once believed they understood you completely, you've become something else entirely. A mystery. And to a manipulator, there is nothing more frustrating than a person they cannot predict and cannot control. If this mindset resonates with you, comment below. I am unreadable. This is side signal. And remember, the moment you stop playing their game is the moment you begin controlling your own.